following program is brought to you by Reunion Media Group. For more information, please visit our Facebook page.
This is the Word Master with my guest Jason in the house. And I'm just going to let him talk for a minute, tell you about himself a little bit before we get down hot and heavy, because there's a subject matter on the table that I really want to get to. But before we get to that, let me let you get to him. So, Jason, tell us about yourself, just for a minute.
Um, I'm Jason the God. Some people know me who may be listening to this recording. I have different ways of looking at things. I have different experiences. I come from a different background, whether that be on the streets, homeless, and ran into somebody that took time out and re-raised me and gave me access to a lot of information that I utilize now, and made me a better person for it.
Well, we're going to get to that in a second, but I wanted to address the fact that you are a type of relationship guru, I want to say, and it's not, as you brought out, the normal type of relationship guru. So tell us your views on relationship.
Are you talking about male and female relationships?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let me just say that I was raised a certain way, and there's a lot of pros and cons to it, but it helped me out here. I think, to be quite honest, I don't think people are in relationships. I think they have none with themselves, and they're not relating with each other. I think that it's usually coming with conditions. It's not real in a sense. Like how people would have their relationship with their specific God or religion. It's always a give and take, if you will. Now, some people say, oh, no, that's a silly statement there. Everything is give and take. Yeah, but according to people's beliefs, that God loved them first. So, thing is, I think people are not being loved. I think people are in love with the idea of it, but their actions don't support what they claim they're in or what they are. I really look at relationships different. I think that sex is marriage, but I think that if you're going into a woman that is your wife, and if you don't view it that way, you should be going into that woman. And vice versa, the woman should not be allowing the man to enter her if they don't have that understanding. Now, to each his own. Some people will disagree with what I'm saying, but that's how I view that. I think that people really should take time on themselves. And I think COVID-19 is doing just that. It's causing a lot of people to separate.
Speaking of COVID-19, that's exactly where I wanted to segue. What do you think is the biggest lesson that we've learned this year, besides all the lessons that we've learned, especially in areas of relationship?
If anything, they've learned what they didn't want to be in. And it just took this event to tip the table over, if you will. I think that COVID has, if anything, pulled the sheet off the cover. And people are really now spending time with each other because, you know, the job made them do 8 hours, 10 hours a day, so you're in and out. You don't really spend time. You don't even, by the time you realize that your kids are graduating out of high school, but you're so busy working that you don't even know each other. So, if anything, that's one difference. But what they said they got into it for, it was never that. So there's a lot of anger right now because of it. There's a lot of breakups going on because of it. Yeah, some people are stuck together because of the economic situation that they're in. You know, one can't afford to leave. So, if anything, we're going in reverse.
I would have thought it was the opposite, that being in close confinement for all this time would have brought a person closer together. But you're saying no, it's the opposite.
Well, it's the same thing with those in religion. I think Some people are getting closer to whatever they think God is. You know, they're really being sincere now because there's some calamities coming, economic calamities that is, which will lead into other things. It's a segue for other things. But to the relationship thing, no, it's wow, it's insane out there right now. I mean, I go to the stores now and I'm having women say hello. It usually doesn't happen. Especially
That's interesting.
when you deal with our sisters, they always got a mean unit on their face. And, you know, some sisters, oh no, here we go, the angry black woman. But it's a fact. We don't speak to each other when we're on the road. So I'm getting a lot of hellos. I guess bills have to be paid. And I guess in a way that's understandable.
So that's your takeaway that COVID-19 has done, I guess you would say, two things in terms of relationship. Let those in relationships realize that they probably don't belong to each other or with each other, and those that are not thinking that, well, I might need somebody and the first person I see on the street looks really good to me.
Basically, yeah, that's what's going on. It's kind of leveled the playing field, if you will, because remember Hot Girl Summer. You know, during the summer, everybody's out there partying or whatever in the clubs, blah blah blah. That's not going on right now. It's definitely not going on. So now you have to actually be what you say you are. And now both sides are, you know, critiquing or digging deeper before they get involved with anybody. For me, I'm never in a rush when it comes to that. I was, like I said, I couldn't even go out when I was home, when I was, you know, living with my parents or my mom. I couldn't go anywhere. And now I look back at it, it has a lot of pros and cons, but it definitely gave me discipline. It gave me a lot of discipline because I can see the baddest looking woman that you can think of, and I want to put my hands on her. And, you know, if we have a relationship, it's something different. You know, if we're relating to each other and we have an understanding and we both have good intentions, yeah, that's okay. But I wouldn't even give a woman a hug if she's not my woman. And then there's certain women that I get involved with, some men will be like, man, what do you see in that? But if I have a vibe about somebody, that's what I'm with.
Earlier you spoke about having a relationship with yourself before you can have a relationship with other people. Could you clarify that thought?
Yeah. I think majority, I won't say all, you really don't know yourself. You know, you never really took time out with yourself. Now some people will be like, well, you didn't even study in African spirituality or listening to gurus. No, that's not really knowing yourself. That's somebody's experience that's explaining his or her experience to you, how they know themselves. But you have to be honest with yourself and have good intentions with yourself in order for you to do it with somebody else. I think that we're very confused. We're a microwave set society. Everything is now, now, now. You have no patience. And you don't gather truth and live truth. You gather truth to simply have a one-up on somebody instead of having it to, how can I say, guide. But then again, we have to go back to what the subject is, knowing yourself. If you don't know yourself, you will never relate to anybody. And you get involved with them for the wrong reasons. And that goes back to relationships with that statement. So I would say this, take time out, which is what COVID should be doing. And really take a stat. Don't look at your life like, oh, I should be here, I don't have this, I don't have that. No, don't do that. As a matter of fact, if you keep doing that, you'll get the same results, because I believe that feelings tied with imagination brings results. So you have to be careful. You have to know yourself.
Speaking of which, when people get into relationships, one thing I've noticed is that, say for instance, one person does something one way and the other person does something the other way, like the dominant person always wants to make the other person be like them. Do you agree to some extent that that ought to be the case in a relationship?
Wow. Okay. This is what I'll say. If what the person is presenting betters you and is a benefit to you, whether that be the male side or the female side, you can submit to that. What I don't agree with is if you see something a certain way how you govern your life per se. And the other individual doesn't see it that way. You should let them be who they are. I think you cause damage when you prematurely push somebody in your understanding. And you shouldn't be pushing people to your understanding. What you should do is just simply live your understanding. And if it's a benefit, let them choose to do so. I think, like how you said, the dominant person. I think that, wow. What's going through my head right now is family members that have been through divorce. And my father, we went through a lot. My father went through a lot of stuff. So I would say that I don't agree with ruling or dominating in a relationship. I don't agree with that. But now, if you're a loving person and what you're presenting can be a benefit, and there's evidence of how you live that it's a benefit, then I don't see no wrong with investigating and looking into it and applying some of the principles.
I like that. Okay, so we just talked about relationship in terms of bringing things into the relationship that wasn't there before. But how about things that were there before in, well, say the person's lifestyle? I'm talking about baggages. Say the person had children, an ex, so on and so forth. Do you agree that it will make a successful relationship? Or what's your thoughts on a person going into a relationship with someone who has not the normal amount of baggage, but extra baggage, so to speak?
When you say baggage, what do you mean?
Four or five kids, probably not working, a lot of debts.
That's not baggage, it's a luggage.
Exactly.
But, wow. Okay, I had an experience. It was a very attractive woman. I used to drink a lot of coffee. Read books and drink coffee. Read books and drink coffee. Do a couple of phone calls and drink coffee. Did I say coffee?
You did.
But yeah, she was a very attractive person, and she would look at me, and one day I just spoke, and we exchanged numbers. At the time, when you look at her, you would think she had 3 kids, and I didn't know she was married. She never told me.
Wow.
I found out eventually, and no, that didn't work. But wow. And I'm not being careful with my answer. I'm not trying to be diplomatic. Usually, I wouldn't talk to a girl with a child or children. I usually wouldn't do that because I don't have any children myself. But I will say this: if I'm into the person and I find out they have a child and I'm into them, yeah, most likely knowing me, if I'm into you, yeah, I'll deal with you. The baggage, as far as, man, wow, there's a lot of baggage. You got people that are destroyed by their parents, whether that be mother or father, lack of a father, or a father in a home that has no form of say-so, or a insane mother. Most of us have insane mothers. That's not to put down women, because based on what some island women go through, they go through a lot. Even England, I'm British. British Jamaican. Yeah, that's insane in itself, right? Yeah, sometimes you can bring baggage and the person can unload it and help you through it. But you know, some people say, well, you shouldn't get involved with somebody if you have baggage, but it's kind of hard, you know. Usually that's not the case, where, oh, I've worked everything out and we meet and the person meets or whatever. And we're like, well, you know, I can live with that, blah, blah, blah. It usually doesn't look like that. Usually for the first 2-3 weeks, everything's going good. And then, kaboom, you know, you start noticing things. And then, you know, if you're not balancing yourself, you'll accept certain things. So, baggage is, the crazy thing about baggage is this. You don't have the baggage, you're trying to help it. You're trying to help the person with baggage. And next thing you know, you've collected their baggage and that's on to you. And when it's all over, you got their baggage. So now you're carrying that baggage to the next thing. So yeah, it goes back to what we were saying. Take time with yourself. You know, if you know you don't have yourself developed, leave people alone. I understand, you know, you may see that girl and you're going wow, or that girl may see that guy, she's going wow. I understand that does happen, but you know, be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. Leave people alone if you're not developed.
I like that answer. I wanted to ask a question that piggybacks on the question that was just asked, but in terms of, do you think that it's beneficial to either party actually that even if you come in with, like you said, a luggage, a Samsonite whole case of issues that the person that you said that has none, do you think that person over time would not even get affected, but will be able to affect that person in a so positive way that no matter what happened in the past, that they can move on from it?
That depends, man, on the individual, which is a simple answer. I mean, that's the answer you give, right? Depends on the individual. But that word love, we use it like good morning,
True.
or like, hey, goodbye, see you later, see you next week. Love has no meaning to it, it has no depth. You can destroy somebody, even if the person has no baggage, and they get involved, they get entangled into you. And I'm gonna change that a little bit. I think, like I said, which is not the case, but we're talking about people that they're developed before they get involved. But if you're developed, yeah, and somebody gets involved with you, and they bring their baggage and it gets crazy and it dissolves, you know, for the baggage. I wouldn't blame it on the person that came with the baggage. I blame it on the individual that took the baggage. Because you're supposed to be developed to the point where you see it. Yes, you're gonna have, you know, you're gonna feel a little down or whatever, but you leave it there. You don't continue with it. So even if you don't have baggage and you're not developed, yeah, you can adopt somebody's ways. You know, if you operate a certain way, if you're around a person a certain amount of time, you can end up being like that person. So you have to have your own individuality, if you will. You have to have your own personality. You have to know you. So when it comes to that, I don't blame the individual. I kind of look at you for you know, accepting it, for allowing it to destroy you.
Last question this segment. Based on all that you just said, how would you describe the ideal, and ideal is in quotation, the ideal relationship?
Well, the ideal one is one, you have one with yourself. Two, you know the parameters of the person, and you can accept what they're given, or accept who they are. There was an uncle that I had that was over there. He was Metro Trail or whatever,
Metro Rail.
Metro Trail. But anyway, it was his last day. Well, let's say the day before was his last day, and he called him and said, "Could you give us one more day?" And he said, "Sure." And he went there, and there was a fight at night, and he tried to break up the fight, and they shot him, and he died there. But the people said, you know, the emergency people that came to him, he was asking if the guy who shot him is okay, or the people that were fighting, are they okay? And he said that he was a very loving person. That was my uncle. He was a Christian. And the reason why I bring him up, his wife was a Muslim. Her aunt was a Muslim. And they had a beautiful relationship. I've yet to see one like that. I'm talking about the closeness was insane. Like, you love couldn't describe what they had. Love is not a good enough word. He's been gone now for at least maybe 8-9 years now, and she hasn't lived with anybody else. I'm not saying that she should do that. I'm just saying what they had, man. Yeah, that's ideal. It's ideal.
I like that. In fact, I felt that. Listeners, we'll be right back, and in our next segment, we'll be asking on spiritual matters, so stay tuned. we're back. So joining me in the studio is my friend Jason, and he's been dealing with segment 1 about relationships. In this segment, we're going to take it a little bit higher, talking about spirituality. Again, in terms of relationship, Jason has certain views on spirituality that might be different than yours, but I challenge you to take a listen. So let's begin at the beginning. When was your first and earliest experience in terms of spirituality? When was that formed and how?
You mean as in doctrine?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. My mom would send me to church, but she wouldn't go.
No.
It was a Baptist church. It was alright. You know, it was alright. I used to take my collection money and go to the store next door and buy candy.
Ouch.
They had good music. I used to like the drums. It was alright. Then, as I got older, I went to another church, and it was okay too. And I left home. Left home at an early age. And ran into certain things. But I met an individual. And he asked me certain questions, because I asked him, why are you standing out here? Because he had these African beads that he was selling. And he said, if you want to know, shave your head, cut your hair, and come back. I said, shave my head and cut my hair. Right? And he said, you either ugly with it or ugly without it. What's the difference? And I stood there for a second. I said, So I went to my friend's house and shaved. Because at the time, I was homeless. No shame in my game. Matter of fact, it's the greatest thing that happened to me as far as being homeless is concerned. And wouldn't change that. But anyway, back to what I was saying. And this man shrank and taught me for 15 years. And he made me study a bunch of things. He said, go to the masjid and the mosque, go learn. I went there and learned. And I read the Quran for a good 15 years, back to back, reading Quran, reading Bibles. Bibles with S. Studying missionary. Wasn't studying Kemet at the time, or Bhagavad Gita, Hinduism and all that stuff. But I was in Islam. Was in the nation of Islam for years. Did security for Dr. Khalid Muhammad. Very good man, in my opinion. And met some important people in that organization. And one day he said to me, wait till one day you find out the name is not Allah. I said, what? He said, wait till you find out. This was years later. And he said, I told you to study Islam. I didn't tell you to become a Muslim. And that hit me like a Mike Tyson uppercut. And he said, now you're ready to really learn. And I would do certain prayers and experience that some people would say, oh, that was certain religious people would say, oh, that was the devil. No, I had an experience where I was in a hurricane, if you will, the wind was gushing. And something was roaring in my face. And I wasn't asleep, I was awake. And then I would say a week, if you will, I was laying down and I was coming out of my body. So I've had certain experiences when it comes to that. And then as times went on, I was introduced to other teachings. And that's where I'm at right now. I see myself as God.
Speaking of which, that's the next question I was going to ask you. A lot of times you get flack for saying, I am God. Could you explain your understanding?
Well, for those that give me flack, I kind of understand why they do. It's their love for, or their admiration for what they say is true. So they feel they have to defend against what I'm saying. So this is what I'll say. If you're from something, which I'm going to clarify that as well, but let's keep it here. If you're from something, you have to be that from which you came. There is no separateness about it. It's like the air you breathe in China is the same air you breathe here. Oxygen is oxygen. Whether polluted or not, that's the difference, I guess. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. I don't see myself as higher than what you think God is. Because it's infinite. There is no destination when we're talking about God, for lack of a better term. We're using the term God. God is not a name, it's a title. Just like the word Christ is a title, it means anointed. Well, if you're living truth, you're living God. And if God is inside of you, what else could you ever be? So when I say I'm God, I know exactly what I am. There's enough separate from that. It's impossible to separate. Even in ignorance, you still have God.
Even in ignorance, you still have God. So, speaking of these God views and these different spiritual experiences, have you ever had one of those experiences that people always talk about where they see this bright light or they have this experience of going to quote unquote heaven? You know what I mean?
No, you're talking about what they call it, near-death experiences?
Absolutely.
No, but I've avoided death 3 times. that counts.
Sure does.
No, I didn't see a bright light. What I felt was something so powerful, it was powerless. Meaning, it meant no harm. And my eyes, or whatever you want to call it, was everywhere. There was no separateness. It's like a drop of water that went back into the ocean. I don't know if people, I wouldn't doubt the people that have doubt about experiences. The hospitals document it when they're talking to these people that were in the hospitals and almost died or in a coma. So I don't doubt that. I think those things could have taken place. I can't say that it didn't. I didn't experience that. But what I'll say is what people think God is far from it. And they can try to describe it, but according to their teaching, there is no image. And if there is no image, there is no description. So the only thing you can say is that it is. Now some people say, oh, don't use the word it. Oh, God is not a it. That's not what I'm saying. You just can't describe it. And we're talking in a backwards language, if you will, to try to convey an experience. But if you have an experience and you told me about it, you just talking about it deduced from it, because I didn't experience it. So I wouldn't know what that is, only you would know what that is.
I get it.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at with that.
Okay, the final question. In the way that you believe, do you recommend it for everyone, or do you think that not everyone could handle certain truths?
I can't say, well, people say certain truths you shouldn't say, and you have secret societies that hold certain truths. I don't believe in anything. People believe because they don't know. They have no evidence of what they're saying, so they believe something happened. But you don't know. Because if you knew, you wouldn't have to believe. Now we're playing semantics with words. But I'm just explaining to you how I see the word belief. No, I don't believe in anything. I don't even believe in me. I know me. So when it comes to truths and understanding, I would say gradually give it. Whatever that is, I don't care if it's seventh day, no day, Jesus, whatever. Allah, Nkulu, Bachila, whatever you want to call it. Take your time with it, because you have some people that are raised in a doctrine, and you could cripple them. You could prove something that is documented, and you could prove it, and they could read it and they could deny it. But you never know, behind closed doors, they may be wrestling with that, and you could cause damage. Especially if you're given, which is what this is the thing I don't like. When you're giving your truth, you're not giving it with love. You're giving it to prove that that person is wrong. You can destroy them, because you're giving it out with this negative energy, if you will. So you have to be very careful when you're giving out information. You know, Right, for instance, well, when I was telling you how many years I was studying Islam, and then when that was told to me, the statement was, now you're ready to hear some truth. It doesn't mean that what I was given was lies. No, I was given a doctrine to understand. It was me that took it internally and got crazy with it.
Do you think your spirituality impacts any way other areas of your life?
Yeah, I would say so. Business, it impacts my business, how I deal. I'll say this. I was doing a deal, and this guy started talking about his God and how this is God's divine will, and I trust God and God and God. I said, listen, we're doing a business deal, and I understand that you believe in what you believe, but when you tell me about God during a business deal, I watch you the most. It doesn't mean I'm being rude or disrespectful, but I've seen deals where these God believers are trying to rob the people, or rob the deal, that is, or steal from the person that stole the deal. So when they mention Allah or Jesus or God in the deal, I always tell the partners, watch that guy, because based on my experience, I find people, for lack of a better term, being more real. The criminals are more real. Because at least he's being what he is, you know what it's about. But when you start bringing this God talk in the deal, then I start watching you. But does how I govern myself affect my life? I would say yes, it does. I think I've got a lot more patience with people. I want to be careful how I say this. Oh boy. I was a very determined person when you did something to me or tried. I was a very determined person. And do I regret? No, I don't. I don't regret anything I've done. Because, again, I feel like if you wanted peace, you would have bought peace. So I give you what you look for. I'd like to call it the mirror. So, no, I'm not that anymore. No, I don't think I'm that. No, I don't think I'm that. I think I'm a lot better. I take a lot more stuff. So I would say that has impacted me.
Last question this segment. What's your overall view and vision for what's going to happen for the rest of 2020 in terms of people's spirits? Do you think that people are going to be elevated, evened, or it's going to be to the negative?
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. I think some people are going to be, some people are happy COVID came. I know my business friends are happy. They're making a lot of money. Even in real estate, it's starting to take a nice turn. But as far as spirituality is concerned, I would say all of the above. I think there's going to be some people cursing God or whatever they believe in. I think there's going to be some people elated because they have time now to meditate and sit back, because you're in a rat race, Before COVID, look, man, I got a friend who works for Sirius Satellite Radio. He does a radio show there. Manhattan is empty. They're home doing the broadcast, But Manhattan is empty. And I was in New York when New York was New York. When New York was New York, I was in New York. And you could have told me that you would watch tumbleweeds blowing down the streets of Brooklyn or Manhattan. You couldn't have told me that Harlem would be empty. I was like, what the heck? What? I see stuff on YouTube, I'm like, are you kidding me? So, I think it's going to cause a lot of people to reflect on themselves. It's definitely going to do that. Whether that's positive or negative, you're going to reflect, because you're going to say, man, what am I in? And then you're going to be like, man, maybe I got to get right with God. Maybe I got to do this. And some people are going to be meditating more and, look into different things more. So I think all of the above.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending time with us today. Got a question. If people wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way that you could say that they could reach out to you?
You won't. If you're supposed to see me, you'll see me.
Yeah, I heard it here. All right. Thank you, Jason. And I just wanted to give you the mic for the closing time that we have left and just speak to the people and just tell them anything that's on your heart or what's your vision, goals, plans, purposes, and just anything that you want to tell them as we wind down our time together.
On a hustle level, never punch the clock. Never be arrogant about what you have or what you're doing. And try not to talk about what you're doing. I know you have to advertise yourself somehow. I'm just blessed with a certain group of people that I deal with. Find a way to make your money, because we're in a capitalistic world, right? Don't be so angry and upset with people. People are going through a lot. They're staying home with their kids now, because as we know, I would say school is a daycare, if you will, while the parents go to work. So now these kids are homeschooled, and they may not be talking about it on the media, but there's a lot of kids getting abused, a lot of women getting abused, a lot of husbands getting abused physically. Take time out with each other, or take time with each other, and just be love itself if you can. And think before you open your mouth. Don't speak in anger. It's crazy out here. I get it. I don't even know. You got bills, and the job didn't call you back yet, and you may lose your home. You just might lose it all. That's very possible. But wow. Nothing's forever. That's all I can tell you as far as the physical is concerned. So just try to live like you're in front of your God now. Just live like God is looking at you right now. That's my advice.